Yesterday, 56% of House Republicans voted to affirm the 1860 sedition by refusing to remove statues of Confederate traitors in the Capitol. In January, 69% of the caucus voted to support sedition by refusing to certify President Biden's victory. And today, 90% of the Republicans banded together to vote against the Select Committee. If you had any doubt of just how willing the party is to wrap its arms around extremism, just take a look at the utter silence from GOP leadership on one of their members, Arizona Congressman Paul Gosar, planning a fundraiser with an open and proud white nationalist. And joining me now, Congressman and former impeachment manager Eric Swalwell of California, author of Endgame, Inside the Impeachment of Donald J. Trump, and Sandra Garza, longtime partner of Officer Brian Sicknick. And I do want to go to you first. Normally, I would give deference to the congressman, so I hope you will forgive me. I'm going to go to Ms. Garza first. Because you were there, how did it feel to watch only 2 Republicans vote to investigate the attack that took Brian Sicknick from you?
Joy, it was like a knife to my heart. It really was. It was a travesty. And I think it really speaks to the fact that there are only 2 Republicans that have a backbone and that care about this country, democracy as a whole, and all of law enforcement who bravely fought for them all that day. It really, really upsets me. And of course, it's a spit in the face to my Brian, which really, really upsets me.
Is his mom okay after having witnessed that today?
She was very upset, too. I mean, it's hard to listen to. It was hard listening to, we listened to some of the debate before the vote. And, to hear their excuses as to why they don't want to support the vote, it's very upsetting. But, we're both survivors. We got through it, and we're going to continue to fight and speak out against this ridiculousness.
You're both clearly fighters. I definitely have seen that. And Representative Swalwell, so we are where we are. Only 2 Republicans voted to do the right thing here today. Should those be the 2 Republicans that Speaker Pelosi puts on the commission? Because I can't imagine picking any others.
I'll leave that to Speaker Pelosi. I certainly think they would be responsible members of the commission, and maybe Kevin McCarthy should consider that. Joy, today I stood with Sandra and Ms. Sicknick in the gallery to watch the vote, and it was hard, frankly, and Sandra will tell you that, look, I've been in Washington now for 9 years. It's easy to get jaded and to be pessimistic about Washington finding the courage to do the right thing, but it really struck me to see Metropolitan and Capitol Hill police officers and the Sicknick family look at the big board of members, and as one of them remarked, why are there so many names in red? Names in red because on the board, those are the names that are voting no. And again, I expected that. We knew that was going to happen. But to see everyday American heroes who defended the Capitol that day just look in shock and horror that people would be voting against investigating the biggest crime against democracy and the biggest crime against law enforcement, it hurts. And I saw the hurt. And I don't ever want to see that again.
And just for people who are not familiar with the way the Capitol works, Congressman, are there Capitol police officers guarding the room when you guys vote?
Yeah, yes, Joy. They guard the room. They guard the perimeter of the Capitol. They patrol the area around the Capitol. Members of Congress are among the safest people in the world because of the bravery of people like Officer Sicknick and the people who stood in the gallery today. And to see Republican members either vote against it or even worse, Joy, go down to the border today for border theater so that they had a convenient alibi as to why they didn't have to take a position on the Select Committee. It was outrageous.
And Sandra, do you expect to see these officers showing up at Blue Lives Matter events? Because that's what sort of the kind of playbook is, right? That they'll then turn around and say that they support police. If one of these members who voted against this commission today then shows up and says, well, they support police, what will be your response?
It was all a joke.
I'm sorry,
go ahead, Sandra. Go ahead. No, Sandra.
Sorry,
I want to hear Sandra. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's phony. It's a lie. It's not true. supporting law enforcement would have been voting yes today. It would have been voting yes for the original 9/11 style commission. There really is no excuse for them to have voted no the first time. Republicans pretty much got everything they asked for. I heard Speaker Pelosi today on the floor say that she, negotiated with them, gave them pretty much everything that they had asked, and still they voted no. It's terrible what they're doing to law enforcement, particularly as Congressman Swalwell said. Capitol Police, they're there every day protecting them. It's just horrific what they're doing to them. It's not right. So to say that they support law enforcement is a joke.
Yeah. And Congressman, it's Metro Police as well, right, who had to come in and back up Capitol Police, people such as Officer Fanot, who came in. It's not even where they patrol, and tried to save them as well. I want to ask you about the sort of dual screen that's in my head of these Republicans refusing to support, just investigating what happened in this horrifying attack on our Capitol, but also not saying anything about Mr. Gosar, who's sort of an old-fashioned Confederate, apparently, because he's palling around with white nationalists who don't even hide the fact that they're white nationalists. We interviewed his brother yesterday, who called him a white supremacist. What is happening on the other side of the aisle in the House?
This is a party now that Kevin McCarthy leads that is pro-slavery. A majority of their members voted to keep the Confederate monuments at the Capitol. Instead of siding with the police, they're rolling with the cop killers. Instead of standing up to end gun violence prevention, instead of standing up to end gun violence in America with gun violence prevention, they are supporting mass shooters like the shooter over last summer, who they are raising money for and holding up high. It's really wildly out of touch with everyday Americans. And what it reflects, Joy, is, as you pointed out, they had held themselves out as Blue Lives Matter members of Congress. But when the rubber meets the road, to honor Donald Trump, they have chosen to dishonor the police. They are dishonoring the military because General Milley is now sideways with the Trump crowd. And as Sandra said, it makes you wonder, was their support just phony all along? And did they just use support for law enforcement and the military as a political cudgel or to weaponize it against Democrats? But when the rubber meets the road, when they had to choose between Donald Trump and police and military, they showed their true colors. Yeah. And they weren't blue.
Well, as the god sister of a retired police officer, I will say thank you in departure to Brian Sicknick for doing the right thing and showing what really great police officers look like. That is what we want. That is what we support. Always a pleasure and always an honor to talk with you, Sandra. Always great to talk with you, Congressman Eric Swalwell. Thank you both. We'll be right back.